Hi, I'm Rik Emmett, and I'm here to talk about my new album RES9 and the songs that are on it, and give you some insight into each one. So I might as well start with the first cut, which is called Stand Still. And that song started from a riff. It was like I had one of these sort of old school Billy Gibbons, go all the way back to John Lee Hooker kind of. Boogie kind of things. So I started to write this song. Now I had been going through a bunch of stuff where I was having some stress and anxiety and going for therapy and talking to experts and stuff. And my whole life I have always been this guy. My nickname from high school was Rocket. And the first good review that I ever got in a guitar magazine described me as Triumph's lightning lead guitarist. So I was always in a hurry. I was always someone that was chasing tomorrow. And so, you know, when you start talking to gurus and therapy people and stuff, they tell you, well, you know, you can't be happy if you're living in yesterday or if you're living in tomorrow. You got to be here. You got to be now. You got to relax and just let life come to you right here in this moment. So all that sort of mindful awareness stuff that is so popular now. My wife had gone to Peru, and her and my son had climbed to Machu Picchu, and you know, for a certain amount of, I don't know, enlightenment or self-enlightenment kind of thing. So I stole from that for the lyric. So in the lyric, it talks about climbing a mountain in Peru and talking to a guru, and you know, and the guru says, like, you know, what are you chasing? Why don't you just relax and stay still? Now, of course, once the song starts, it's one of those really up-tempo boogies. And I mean, the reason it's the first track on the record is because it kind of shows how tight the band can be playing as a unit together, because it's very much a band album. RES9 is about a band, making band music. So it was a sort of a showcase for that, but it's up-tempo, and it's really kind of smoking along. But it's kind of ironic that a song that's like that lyrically would be saying, hey, stand still, stop, you know, let it come to you. So anyways, that's kind of, for me as an artist, I kind of liked the fact that the song had a kind of a little bit of irony in it, a little bit of, you know, I don't know, contrast or whatever. So plus I like to play over shuffles because it lets me play all those, you know, like lots of triplets and things. So there you go, Stand Still. The second song on the album is called Human Race. And we have Alex Lifeson playing guitar on it. And it started as a kind of a folk song that kind of had like a... But it sort of evolved towards a kind of a very, I don't know, 60s Who kind of a thing. And when we got Alex into play, the other guitar player in my band is Dave Dunlop, and Dave had sort of put together this riff, this... He and I had kind of written that riff together to go over top. So Alex brought a 12-string Rickenbacker, and he played these very spongy chords. And it really added to the sort of atmosphere of that track. It gave it a real kind of a spongy, electric kind of vibe. And of course, Paul DeLong is my drummer, and he played the living crap out of it. It's great. Lots of nice fills in there. And yeah. So the song itself is about the first song on the album is called Stand Still, and now this one's called Human Race, and it sort of deals with the same topic of always being in a hurry and chasing tomorrow, and you know, why do we do this? And for me, the final analysis, the song was sort of saying, well, you know, I chase music because I love it so much, and you can never really catch it, but it's never really about catching it anyways. It's all about the pursuit, like, you know, the whole thing about not the destination but the journey. You know, what is the human race? It's that we run because it feels good to run, and there's things that you're chasing that even though they're out there ahead of you and you can never really get them, maybe that's what makes them kind of seem like they're so delicious. And certainly music is kind of like that. It's this infinite pursuit that I just love. So that's the story of human race. The third song on the album is called I Sing. We kind of front end loaded some guest appearances. I had two principal guests on the album, Alex Lifeson and James LaBrie of Dream Theater. And James came in on the afternoon of May the 16th, 2016, and sang on a couple of tracks, and this was the one that sort of featured his back and forthness with yours truly. The song is about why one would sing. You know, it's like a laundry list kind of song. I sing for this reason and this reason, this reason, this reason. Just sort of making a long laundry list of the reasons why one might sing. And then, you know, once you've sort of got that as a writer, you're trying to sort of organize the thinking of that so that it tells a bit of a story. So, you know, the song gets to the point where it talks about the scars that you have and the lessons that you've learned. And I mean, here I am, a 63-year-old man, and along comes Mascot Provoke, and they say to me, hey, you know, you want to make an album, and we'll give you enough money that you can really do it right, and you can get some great guests. So the song kind of takes on a deeper meaning of, you know, what's it like to be an older person that's still chasing the thing that you started way back when you were, you know, a punk in your teenage years. So, you know, it's like I don't really have a choice. You know, I make music. Music chose me as much as I chose it as an avocation, a way to spend my life. And this song kind of talks about that. It's kind of like a very grand, epic kind of tune. James sings great, and Dave Dunlop plays a guitar solo on the tag of the tune that's just one of my favorite moments on the record. And I should mention really quick, there's two background singers on it, Andrea Koziol and Catalin Kiss. And they do a fantastic job on this track as well. I think we should have mixed them a little louder, but, you know, you can't keep working on a record forever. As my friends often say, you know, albums are never finished. They have a release date. And so, you know, you could keep tweaking forever. So anyways, there you go. That's I Sing. We're up to the track called My Cathedral. So this is a tune that started as a kind of a funky, I was thinking about sort of the band and Cripple Creek, and I had this kind of riff that was like one of these Robbie Robertson-ish. That kind of stuff. And yeah, so this is one of my favorite tracks on the record. As a writer, I feel like I was being very autobiographical, talking about sort of where my spirituality is, because I'm not really big on religion. And my wife and I had gone on a river cruise in Europe, and when you do those things, you get to see an awful lot of cathedrals and castles that have, you know, incredible sort of tributes to God and the Roman Catholic Church and all of that. And it just seems like, wow, an awful lot of energy went into that, a lot of human time and effort, and I'm not very religious. The whole idea of an afterlife or heaven, it just doesn't wash with me. It doesn't work. But that's not to say that I don't feel a need for things that are spiritual and deep and meaningful, and so, you know, what is it in life that gives me that? And of course, the answer is music. That's the thing that is my cathedral, and it just floats in the air. So the lyric almost wrote itself once I defined the territory. It wasn't really too hard to do. I did think about a friend of mine whose wife had become very religious, and so that affected a little bit of one of the lyrics and one of the verses and stuff. But it's really just a question of, I mean, I'm not trying to stick anything in anybody's face, but it's the whole idea, if you're sort of agnostic on your way to atheistic, you know, like, is there still beauty, you know, and so that's what the song is about. And yeah, I got to play a little bit of that rolling kind of funky stuff. Shadow Town. What track is that? Number 5. So this was a tune that started out, that stuff that I was playing at the beginning, that kind of minor thing. I wanted to have something on the record that would be like a Gary Moore kind of tribute thing, but Gary Moore, Jeff Beck, Roy Buchanan, that kind of bloodline there. And but I also really liked a band when I was in high school called Wishbone Ash, which had that twin guitar thing. So somewhere I was going to try and use this track to satisfy those kinds of things. And then one of my favorite guitar players, one of my role models when I was growing up was Jimmy Page. And Page had that Since I've Been Loving You 12-bar blues that was just, to me, like one of the greatest guitar tracks ever. So, and when I wrote this song, I didn't actually have it in 12/8 time signature, but Dave Dunlop, who was producing with Steve Skingley, he said, no, you got to take the song and move it over into 12. So that's how that song ended up being the way it is. And it's very moody. It has those kind of very, you know... very dark, very kind of rainy night, gothic, sad film noir kind of thing. Very intentionally, the lyric was, I was contemplating the idea of fear, and fear as a motivator. And at the time there was an election going on in the United States, and there was one candidate that was running on the idea of making people afraid of the future. Yeah, look what happened. So, you know, I think that everybody has boogeymen in the closet and things under the bed and, you know, things that we're afraid of. And that becomes one of the things in life that we have to deal with. In this song, I decided I would step right into the shoes as a writer. I'd use first person for just, you know, that ghost of Shadowtown, that evil thing, that really sinister, dark thing of fear that exists. So that's what the tune's about. But I've always loved the idea of being able to play these kinds of... I've always liked, you know, the Beck, Because We've Ended as Lovers, and Roy Buchanan, and The Messiah Will Come. And so I wanted something that was kind of in that ballpark. So that's the story of Ghost of Shadowtown. So we're up to track number 6, which is the Sweet Tooth song. And this one started out where I was kind of listening to a lot of old school double entendre blues guys like Muddy Waters and John Lee Hooker and that sort of thing. And just the whole idea of writing a song about candy, you know, but having it be double entendre for, you know, essentially a song about sex. And I wanted something that was definitely going to be like a novelty track on the record, like a real change of pace, something that would be fun, lighthearted, goofy, just a couple of minutes. And I've always kind of liked that style of jazzy blues that has those kinds of changes, like... and this kind of... So, that's how the song kind of grew, and I wanted to keep it really, really simple, very small amount of instruments on the track, and I realized that some people might go, what's this doing on a hard rock record? But I don't know. I mean, Van Halen had a tune once that was like, I can't remember what it was called, but you know, it was Finish What You've Started is what it was called. And I always thought that's kind of a cool thing to do, like something that just sort of takes a departure from, you know, the monster amplifiers and all that stuff. So that's why it's on there. And the funny little anecdote story about this one, we had a lyric in there that I didn't realize how politically incorrect it truly was, until we were already in the studio and we'd already recorded the track, and I'd put a demo vocal on it. And the engineer, Matt, said, you know, geez, I'm not sure those lyric lines are, and we went, oh man, you're right. So I had to rewrite the lyrics. So the line that's about homemade cookie, home-baked cookie, that used to be something different, but I'm not going to say what. So anyhow, I dodged a bullet there, that I had a good engineer he was sharp. He picked that one up in a hurry. So there you go. That's it. This is a song called, I'm going to talk about When You Were My Baby. And it's kind of a jam song. I was feeling like the more that I had a kind of a R&B fundamental basis for what I was doing on this record, the more I would tie into what a lot of Mascot Provoke does, which they've got, you know, Robert Cray on the label, and Robin Ford, and Eric Johnson, and so there's a lot of stuff where Southern rock, or the idea of American kind of blues, has informed what a lot of the artists do on that label. So I wanted a tune that would kind of be in the ballpark. I had this song, and it struck me that it was kind of a very Atlanta rhythm section in terms of the changes that it had. It had a feel that was, I don't know, you know, Georgia, or, you know, somewhere down there. So, and Allman Brothers. I like the idea of things that it looks sort of twin guitars trading off each other and jamming. So the song starts with one of these 2/5 kind of. And we just kind of noodle. And then at the end of the tune, on the album, it kind of gets to this sort of extended kind of noodling on the 2/5. Anyhow, and it's a blues thing where, you know, the singer is saying, you know, the best thing that you ever did for me when I was your baby is you said goodbye. That's the best thing you ever did for me. Which I felt like that was a pretty good idea for a blues tune, and I'd had that lyric hanging around for a while in my songbook. So when we worked it up, I felt good. Don Brydup played a really nice organ and piano track on this. Don lives in LA now, so he's not as available to us Canadians. But he flew up and did a couple sessions, and then the organs he sent them via the internet. That strange thing that I don't really understand very well. Anyhow, so yeah, you know, if you're interested in the lyrics, the albums have, the CDs have booklets, and this is a full gatefold with all the lyrics in there. So, you know, that's kind of a cool thing to be able to check out. I like the fact that sort of Mascot, they cut no corners. You know, this is full blown, really nice. You know, it's got that old school vibe. It's got the names of the musicians on the front. It's kind of cool. So anyhow, I think of When You Were My Baby as one of the songs that just kind of fits right into that Mascot Provoke thing. But I mean, what do I know? It's only the first album I've done for them, so they might go, that's not our thing. What are you doing? I don't know. So anyways, When You Were My Baby. There you go. This is called Heads Up, this song. And it was a riff rocker. It started with this guitar riff. And it's probably got a bit of a Foo Fighters vibe to it. I wrote this one thinking very intentionally about angry young man energy, because I'm not all that crazy about politics and what happens in the world, or the people that get into it because they chase power and they spin things, and so that was where a lot of the lyric ideas came from, where it was a kind of a bleak, angry outlook. But what's the answer to that? And the answer is, well, you just have to kind of keep forging ahead and you have to keep providing your own positive energy to move forward, because if you think that you're going to maybe going to get a government that helps you out in that regard, you're probably going to end up disappointed or disenfranchised, or So heads up, keep moving along. It's just the idea of the spirit of mobility as the thing that maybe solves your problem. So it was just all an excuse to play power chords, kind of. The rest of my life, and to me it's a little bit of an outlier on the album. We weren't sure whether or not it was going to make the cut or not. It's very much a song that I wrote about my own kind of stress and anxiety and my identity and who I was and who I wanted to be, and that I'd gotten myself into trouble with a lot of anxiety issues and things, and what was going to be the thing that was going to save me from myself was essentially sort of the love of my life and the music that I was making, and I was going to try and just keep things simple and bring things back to basics. So it's one of those kinds of pretty folky kind of structures, and it's pretty straightforward kind of a thing. But I probably had, I would say, a half dozen songs that were kind of like this one. And when I originally started doing the project, Steve Skingley and I sat down and just recorded everything, voice and guitar. And then we took it to Dave, and between the three of us we sort of voted. And this was the one that just kind of sneaked in under the wire. And so that's the story of that song, the rest of my life. Who am I now, and who do I want to be for the rest of my life? Hopefully people find a little bit of sort of motivation and inspiration in a song like that one. We're up to track number 10. This was the epic track that I felt was like the kind of album closer. And it was a big riff, it had this, which I could hear, an army of guitarists playing. But we didn't get an army. There was me and Dave Dunlop, who plays in the band with me, but we got Alex Lifeson of Rush to play on it. And I would like to mention that when I was going through all of these songs, and I was talking about the second track on the album, Human Race, that has Alex on it, I didn't mention he's from Rush, so I'm trying to make up for that now. I'm going to say Rush many times. Alex Lifeson of Rush. Because, brand awareness and all of that, it's important in marketing. Anyhow, yeah. So, and also James Labrie, who's the singer from Dream Theater. This was the track where I thought my two guests would both be on it, and this would get a lot of attention. I don't know, in the blogosphere, on social media and all of that, because those guys have fairly large followings, I believe. I don't really know too much about the interweb, but I do believe that, they have some popularity. Anyhow, so this was the big riff rockin' tune, and I had not spent a lot of time writing this. I pretty much had the riff, threw some chords together, really wrote some lyrics in a big hurry. They're sort of about a guy that's maybe at the end of the line, which is to say, I wasn't sure I was ever going to make another rock record again in my life, and I would have been probably perfectly content not to. But along came this guy, A&R man for Mascot, Jim Patulski, and he was all big on the idea of, and we'll recapture some of that old Triumph vibe, and we'll get some special guests, and hey, do you know the guys from Dream Theater? I know the guys from Dream Theater. I get them in there. I said, I don't know the guys from Dream Theater, but Lifeson and I go back a bit. So anyhow, blah, 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 blah. You know, I was in the studio making this record. So the whole idea of kind of, there's a line of lyric that sort of says, hey, I've paid all my dues and I've got nothing to lose, so, you know, I might as well go for it. And so this is a track where we kind of go for it and we play crazy guitar and kick each other's butts around the studio, and it's a lot of fun. I do want to mention, you know, before I close doing all of these things, the band that I have, this is very much a band album. And the guys in my band, Dave Dunlop, Steve Skingley, who both co-produced with me, and Paul DeLong on drums, a great band, fantastic musicians to get to play with, a joy for me to work with and go out on the road with and play shows with. But this track in particular is kind of one of those ones where, okay, like there's no way around it. When we play it live on stage, it's a real ass-kicking, smoking kind of rockin' tune. So it's a lot of fun, as riff rockers are. For all you guys that play in bands, you know that there's nothing like a monster riff just to kind of, yeah, sink your teeth into it. So anyhow, end of the line. There you go. I've been walking you through all of the songs on my new album, RES9, with my band, RESolution9. And we've reached the end of our journey now. We're at track number 11. I think of this one as a sort of bonus track on the album. And the band didn't actually play on this one. I actually had my old bandmates, Gil Moore of Triumph and Mike Levine on bass. They each did a session for me. They were quite generous, and it was lovely of them to come and do this. I had this song, and I had originally sort of envisioned it as an instrumental that had this very kind of Jeff Beck atmosphere kind of tune with these kind of changes. But when we started talking, and when I say we, I mean Jim Patulski, from Mascot Provoke, and myself, about getting the Triumph guys involved, I started to get this thing of, hey, that instrumental, that might be really good. And if I based it on a real life kind of thing, which is that Mike and Gil and I get together every Christmas time, and we go out for dinner and have a few drinks and tell old stories. And so, you know, for a long time we were at odds with each other, but we kind of worked all that out, and we, you know, had a reunion and played a gig in Sweden. But the other guys don't play much anymore. They're not very active musically. But anyhow, so I thought I could maybe write a lyric and about guys getting together at New Year's and having a scotch and looking back on their lives and sort of a long and checkered history. So that's kind of what the song is about, and it's called The Grand Parade of Time. And yeah, I played this guitar on the record. This is a guitar that Yamaha made for me a long time ago, and it's a real sweet one, and I really like it. And of course, it's got the wangy bar, so you can get. I kind of really like that. So it made an appearance on this track on the record. And yeah, that brings us to the end of the explanation or insight into all of the tunes. And I hope you've enjoyed it. It was kind of fun for me to walk through it all. And I'll see you down the road.